Have you ever heard a single sound at the right moment and felt as if your heart finally found a place to sit down and rest? Have you ever wondered why some people say they only heard the 6-syllable mantra one time and then their whole life began to turn in a new direction? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about something that sounds simple but goes very deep. A mantra is not just a sound you repeat. It can be a way to gather a scattered mind, soften a hardened heart, and change the karma that keeps steering your life in circles. The first idea is that sound is never only sound when it touches consciousness with sincerity. The second idea is that the true turning of destiny is often not a sudden miracle outside you, but a sudden awakening inside you. A moment of clarity that stops you from creating new harm and starts you planting new pauses. Let us begin with a scene that many people recognize but rarely describe. You are living your ordinary life. The outside world looks the same as yesterday. Your phone is still buzzing. Your to-do list is still waiting. Your relationships still carry their tension. Your body still carries its fatigue. Nothing has changed in the visible world. And yet, for one brief moment, your inner world goes quiet. Not empty, not numb, just quiet. Like someone gently lifted you out of a tangled rope and placed you on the ground. You inhale, and for the first time in a long time, you feel the breath arrive all the way down. Your shoulders drop. Your eyes soften. Something in you says, I can be here. What is that moment? Some people call it grace. Some people call it a nervous system reset. Some people call it spiritual protection. Some people call it the mind finally letting go. In Buddhist language, we can call it a small awakening. Not the final awakening of a Buddha, but a real shift where you see clearly for a second and that seeing changes what you do next. And what you do next changes your karma. And what you keep doing next becomes your destiny. Now I want to tell you a story. Because stories make these invisible things visible. I will call the main person in this story Michael. Michael was not religious. He did not grow up with temples. He did not grow up chanting. He grew up in a world that trained him to chase results, avoid weakness, and measure life through achievement. He was smart, quick, and ambitious. But he was also exhausted in a way that sleep did not fix. If you looked at his life from the outside, you might think he was doing well. He had work. He had friends. He had plan. But inside, he was constantly bracing. His mind was always racing ahead. His heart was always slightly clenched. Even when he laughed, it felt like the laughter was floating on top of something heavier underneath. He did not call it suffering. Many people do not. They call it normal. They call it busy. They call it adulthood. They call it just how life is. Then one year, several things hit him close together. A relationship ended. A family member got sick. Work became unstable. And the quiet fear that had always lived in the background suddenly stepped into the center of his chest. He started waking up at night with a sharp awareness of time passing. He would look at the ceiling and feel as if life was slipping away through a crack he could not seal. In the daytime, he functioned. At night, he felt haunted. Haunted by regret. Haunted by fear. Haunted by the feeling that he was always behind. Always late. Always not enough. One evening, he met an old friend for dinner. The friend had changed. Not in a flashy way. In a steady way. The friend looked calmer, as if he had more space inside his body. Michael noticed it immediately and asked what happened. The friend said something simple. I started practicing again. I started reciting OMM, ANIPADMEHUM. Michael laughed lightly. He said, that is a Buddhist thing. Right. The friend nodded. He did not try to convince Michael of anything. He simply said, I do not know how to explain it without sounding strange. But it helps me come back to myself. Even when nothing outside changes, something inside settles. Michael felt a flicker of curiosity. Not belief, curiosity. He asked if the friend could show him. Right there. In the car. Before they left, the friend said yes. He did not perform. He did not make a show. He simply sat for a moment, breathed, and began to recite quietly. O-M-A-N-I-P-A-D-M-E-H-U-M. O-M-A-N-I-P-A-D-M-E-H-U-M. The sound was soft. The rhythm was even. The friend was not forcing anything. Michael listened, and at first, nothing happened. He just heard syllables. But after a minute, something subtle began to shift. It was like hearing rain at night. The mind stopped chasing because the rhythm was steady. The mind stopped grabbing because the sound was complete. The sound did not demand anything. It did not argue. It did not criticize. It did not rush. Michael did not suddenly become a new person in that car, but he felt something he had not felt in a long time. Relief. Not the relief of getting what you want, but the relief of being allowed to breathe. He said, "I do not understand why that feels calming." The friend smiled. He said, "Maybe because your mind is tired of fighting itself." That night, Michael went home and tried to find the mantra online. He found recordings. He listened to different voices, different tempos. Some were dramatic, some were simple. He picked one that felt plain and steady. He pressed play and listened. And now we arrive at the part of the story that matters. He listened once, just once, before sleep. He did not make a vow. He did not light incense. He did not know the philosophy. He simply listened. In the middle of listening, he felt that quiet moment return. The same moment we talked about at the beginning, where the inner world goes quiet, not empty, not numb, quiet. And inside that quiet, he noticed something that changed everything. He noticed how hard he had been gripping his life, how hard he had been gripping his identity, how hard he had been gripping his fear. And for a few seconds, he let go. That is all. That is the whole miracle. A few seconds of letting go. But those few seconds planted a seed. Because when you experience letting go even once, you now know it is possible. Before that, you might believe you are trapped in your mind forever. After that, part of you remembers the door exists. This is how turning begins. So now let us ask the core question of today. Is a mantra only sound? If you mean only sound as in air vibrations, yes, it is sound. But human life is not only air vibrations. Human life is meaning, attention, memory, habit, emotion, and karma. And sound interacts with all of that. A mantra is sound, but it is also a training object. It is a rhythm that can gather attention. It is a reminder that can redirect a drifting mind. It is a symbol that can awaken compassion. It is a doorway that can interrupt destructive habits. And OMMANIPADMEHUN, often called the 6-syllable mantra, is especially tied to compassion. When people connect with it sincerely, the heart often softens. When the heart softens, the mind relaxes. When the mind relaxes, you see more clearly. When you see more clearly, you make different choices. Different choices create different karma. Different karma creates a different future. That is the chain, not superstition. Cause and effect. Now, I want to slow down and make this very practical. Because many people hear stories like Michael's and assume the mantra itself is doing something magical outside the person. But the deeper truth is more empowering. The mantra can be a condition that allows your own mind to reveal its natural clarity and compassion. The mantra can be like a tuning fork. When struck, it helps the rest of the system find a more stable frequency. Think about the way music works. A song can make you cry. A song can give you courage. A song can bring back a memory you thought was gone. It is not because the song is a supernatural object. It is because your nervous system, your mind, and your heart are responsive. Sound can carry meaning. Sound can carry emotion. Sound can organize attention. Now imagine a sound that has been repeated for centuries by people with the intention of compassion, wisdom, and liberation. Imagine a sound that many people associate with refuge, with returning, with not harming, with opening the heart. Even if you do not believe in anything mystical, you can still understand that such a sound can become a powerful cue. It can cue the body to relax. It can cue the mind to return. It can cue the heart to soften. This is why one hearing can matter. Because one hearing at the right moment can create a new association. Fear appears, and instead of spiraling, the mind remembers the sound. The sound becomes a bridge. The bridge leads to a pause. The pause leads to a wiser choice. And one wiser choice is already a different destiny than the one you were about to create. Now let me bring in another story, because Michael is one kind of person. But there is another kind of person who often experiences a turning through hearing a mantra once. This is the person who is drowning in regret. I will call her Sarah. Sarah was carrying regret like a second spine. She smiled at work. She joked with friends. But inside, she replayed the past. The words she said that hurt someone. The moment she left when she should have stayed. The choice that seemed small but changed everything. Regret is a special kind of suffering because it keeps the mind trapped in time. It keeps you locked in what cannot be changed. It convinces you that you deserve pain. It turns the present into punishment. Sarah did not think she deserved compassion. She thought compassion was for better people. One day she visited a temple with a friend. She did not go for religion. She went out of politeness. She walked around quietly, trying not to look ignorant. In a small hall, she heard chanting. Not loud, not dramatic. A steady group reciting OMMANIPADMEHUM. She stood at the back, embarrassed and curious. And then something happened that surprised her. She began to cry. Not neat tears, not polite tears, real tears, the kind that come from a place deeper than words. Later she could not explain why. She said, I did not even know what they were saying. Why did I cry? Here is why. The mind can understand sound without translating it into concepts. The heart can recognize compassion as a frequency. When you have been starving for compassion, even one moment of contact can release years of tension. In that hall, Sarah felt something that her inner critic had forbidden for a long time. She felt that maybe she could be forgiven, not excused. Forgiven. Forgiveness does not deny harm. Forgiveness means you stop creating new harm by continuing to punish yourself endlessly. In Buddhist practice, endless self-punishment is also a form of ignorance because it keeps you stuck. It keeps you focused on self-hatred rather than on transformation. The wiser path is remorse plus vow. Remorse means you see clearly what was wrong. Vow means you commit to not repeating it and to cultivating good causes now. When Sarah heard the mantra, her heart shifted from self-punishment to remorse and vow. That is a turning. She left the temple and did not become perfect. But she did something different that week. She apologized to someone she had avoided. She began making small acts of kindness without telling anyone. She started volunteering quietly. She started caring for her speech, trying not to spread poison in conversation. Those changes are karma changes. And karma changes are destiny changes. This is why the greatest blessing is not a life with no storms. The greatest blessing is a mind that does not create new storms when storms arrive. A mind that stays compassionate. A mind that stays wise. A mind that stays awake enough to avoid planting new suffering. Now let us talk directly about the idea that a mantra is only sound. Because sometimes people resist this topic. Not because they are closed-minded, but because they fear being fooled. They fear superstition. They fear losing control. They fear that spirituality will make them irrational. I respect that fear, but I also want to challenge the misunderstanding underneath it. The real question is not whether sound is magical. The real question is whether your mind is trainable. If your mind is trainable, then any stable object of attention can become a tool for transformation. Breath, a candle flame, a short prayer, a mantra. The tool is not the goal. The goal is awakening, wisdom, compassion, and the end of unnecessary suffering. In Buddhism, There is a strong emphasis on direct experience. If a practice helps you become less reactive, more compassionate, more aware, and less harmful, then it is skillful. If a practice inflates ego, increases greed, increases hatred, and increases delusion, then it is not skillful, even if it looks spiritual on the outside. So we can evaluate mantra practice in that way. Does hearing or reciting OMM, May NIPADME help you become kinder? Does it help you pause before you lash out? Does it help you notice your craving before you obey it? Does it help you remember compassion when fear arises? If yes, then the mantra is not only sound in your life, it is a condition for wisdom. Now, I want to go deeper, because there is a subtle point many people miss. Mantra practice is not only about feeling calm. Calm is helpful, but calm is not the final purpose. The deeper purpose is to purify intention. When you repeat a mantra connected to compassion, you are repeatedly planting the intention of compassion. Even if you do not feel it strongly at first, you are planting it. And intention is powerful karma. Many people think karma is only big actions, but karma starts earlier than action. Karma begins at intention, then becomes speech and behavior. If you change intention, you change the source code of your life. This is why one hearing can matter. One hearing can awaken an intention that has been asleep. One hearing can remind you of the kind of person you want to be. One hearing can interrupt the trance of anger. Now I will tell you a third story, because this one is about anger, and anger is where many destinies are destroyed. I will call him David. David had a temper, not constant screaming, but the kind of temper that turns the whole room cold. The kind of temper that makes people walk on eggshells. He was not evil. He was wounded, but his wound had teeth. One day he got into an argument in a parking lot. Someone cut him off. Words were exchanged. It escalated quickly. David felt the familiar he tries in. The tunnel vision. The urge to win. The urge to punish. At that exact moment, something unusual happened. A car passed slowly, and from an open window, he heard a recording playing. Anipadmehum. Soft, steady, drifting in the air for only a few seconds. David later described it like this. It was like someone poured pool water over fire. He froze, not because he became holy, but because the sound interrupted his pattern. The interruption created a gap. The gap gave him a chance to see himself. He saw his anger. He saw how close he was to ruining his day. Maybe his life. He saw the stupidity of it, not intellectually, but directly. He stepped back. He got in his car. He drove away shaking. That night, he searched for the mantra. He listened again. And then he did something he had never done before. He admitted to himself that he was afraid. Many angry people are afraid. Anger is often armor. He began listening daily, not to become a monk, but to become a safer human being. Over time, he noticed that anger still arose, but it rose slower. He had a little more warning. That warning allowed choice. Choice allowed a different karma. A different karma allowed a different destiny. Now, if you have been paying attention, you might see the pattern in these stories. The mantra did not remove all problems. It did not give people a fantasy life. It gave them a pause. It gave them a return. It gave them a reminder of compassion. And that was enough to change the next decision. Many people underestimate the power of the next decision. They think destiny is made by big dramatic choices only. But destiny is mostly made by small repeated decisions. The decision to speak harshly or speak gently. The decision to scroll mindlessly or rest. The decision to hold a grudge or forgive. The decision to numb pain or face it with awareness. The decision to waste energy on hatred or use it to cultivate compassion. These decisions accumulate. They become your life. So when a mantra gives you even a small pause before the old habit takes over, that pause is priceless. Now, let us talk about why OMME PADME is often described as a compassion mantra. You do not need to memorize complex philosophy to feel its effect, but it helps to understand the direction. Compassion in Buddhism is not pity. Compassion is the wish that beings be free from suffering and the willingness to act wisely toward that end. Compassion is not weak. Compassion is fierce in the sense that it refuses to abandon beings, including yourself, to ignorance. Wisdom in Buddhism is not just cleverness. Wisdom is seeing clearly the causes of suffering and the way out. Wisdom sees impermanence. Wisdom sees how craving creates pain. Wisdom sees how hatred burns the one who holds it. Wisdom sees how the self is not as solid as we assume. Wisdom sees karma in real time. Mantra practice can support both compassion and wisdom by gathering the mind. A gathered mind can see. A scattered mind only reacts. That is why the key is not the volume of chanting. The key is the quality of attention. One syllable with sincerity can be deeper than 1,000 repetitions with a mind that is shopping, arguing, and drifting. Now, I want to take a moment and speak directly to those of you who have tried chanting and felt nothing. You listened, you repeated, and you thought, this is just sound. First, it may be just sound at first. That is not failure. That is honest. The mind has habits. If your mind is trained to crave stimulation, a simple steady mantra may feel boring. If your heart is armored, compassion may feel distant. If your nervous system is in chronic stress, quiet may feel unsafe. But practice is training. Training means repetition plus patience plus kindness. Not forcing. Not demanding instant results. Not using spirituality to bully yourself. If you want to explore this practice, do it like this. Take a short time. Just a few minutes. Sit comfortably. Put the phone away. Let the body breathe naturally. Then play or recite OM. PADME softly. Do not chase a feeling. Do not demand calm. Simply listen. Listen as if you are listening to a friend who truly cares about you. That listening itself is compassion. When thoughts arise, do not fight them. Notice them. Then return to listening. This return is the whole practice. The return trains concentration. Concentration supports wisdom. Wisdom supports compassion. Compassion purifies karma. Over time, you may notice something subtle. You begin to catch yourself earlier when you are about to create harm. You begin to pause before you speak sharply. You begin to feel less hungry for conflict. You begin to feel less thirsty for approval. You begin to feel more present in ordinary moments. These are not small changes. These are the building blocks of awakening. Now, let us go even deeper into the phrase you might have heard, that a mantra can protect you. Some people misunderstand protection as a shield that blocks all suffering. But in real life, the greatest protection is a mind that does not create unnecessary suffering. A protected mind is a mind that does not add fuel to fire. A protected mind is a mind that does not turn fear into cruelty. A protected mind is a mind that does not turn pain into addiction. A protected mind is a mind that can stay human under pressure. This is the true protection of practice. So when people say they heard the mantra once and their life turned, often what they mean is that they were about to make a decision that would have created heavy karma, and the mantra helped them pause. The pause saved them from planting a seed that would have grown into years of consequences. That is a turning of destiny. Now I want to share a moment from my own life in a way that is simple and honest. There was a time when I was carrying too much mental noise, too many opinions, too many plans, too many fears, too many judgments about myself and others. I could still function, but I was not at peace. I was not steady. I was not kind in the quiet ways that matter. One night, I listened to OM, PADME, not as a performance, just as sound in a dark room. At first, it was only sound. Then, after a while, I noticed my breathing had slowed. I noticed my jaw had unclenched. I noticed a thought appear, and instead of chasing it, I let it float by. And in that small act of not chasing, I felt freedom. It was not a dramatic spiritual event. It was small. But it showed me something. My mind can let go. My mind can return. My mind is not doomed to constant grabbing. That realization changed the way I approached my life. I stopped trying to solve everything with force. I started valuing the pause. I started valuing the return. And that changed my karma in small daily ways. I spoke more gently. I listened more. I became less addicted to being right. I became more willing to admit when I was afraid. This is what practice does when it is real. It does not decorate your identity. It transforms your habits. Now I want to bring all of this into a single clear thread, because we have covered many angles. A mantra is sound, but it is also a container for attention. Attention is the gate to the mind. The mind is the maker of karma. Karma is the architect of destiny. When you anipemehun with sincerity, even once, it can create a new association in your mind. Fear can become a cue to return. Anger can become a cue to pause. Regret can become a cue to soften. And when you return, pause, and soften, you stop creating new harm. Stopping harm is already awakening. Then, when you keep practicing, you begin creating good causes. You cultivate compassion, not as an idea, but as a habit. You cultivate wisdom, not as a philosophy, but as a capacity to see before you react. That is how destiny turns. Now, I want to speak to you about something even deeper, because some of you are listening not only for peace, but for meaning. You are trying to understand why your life has been so hard. You are trying to understand why you keep meeting the same pattern. You are trying to understand why you feel cursed or stuck. In Buddhist language, we would say your life is shaped by karma, both past and present. Karma does not mean you are punished by the universe. Karma means causes and conditions shape results. The good news is that present karma matters a lot. The causes you plant today are shaping the person you will be tomorrow. Every moment you choose compassion over cruelty, you are planting a different seed. Every moment you choose awareness over numbness, you are planting a different seed. Every moment you choose patience over violence, you are planting a different seed. If anipemehun helps you choose those things more often, then it is not only sound, it is a seed, and seeds grow. Now we arrive at the closing reflection, and I want it to land in your heart, not just your mind. Maybe you are like Michael, exhausted and bracing, and you do not even know how to rest anymore. Maybe you are like Sarah, carrying regret and believing you do not deserve compassion. Maybe you are like David, armored in anger, afraid to admit what is underneath. Or maybe you are simply a person trying to live in a world that constantly steals your attention and then blames you for being scattered. In all these cases, the path begins the same way. A moment of return. Do not underestimate the moment of return. A moment of return can save a relationship. A moment of return can stop you from sending the text that would burn a bridge. A moment of return can stop you from feeding an addiction. A moment of return can stop you from speaking words that cannot be taken back. A moment of return can stop you from turning your pain into someone else's pain. That is compassion. That is wisdom. That is karma transforming in real time. That is destiny shifting. So if you want to explore this, do not make it heavy. Start simple. Listen once, with sincerity, or recite softly for a few minutes and treat it like coming home. Do not chase special experiences. Do not demand fireworks. Let the practice work in the quiet ways that matter most. And now I want to invite you to share your story. Have you ever heard a sound, a prayer, a mantra, or a phrase that suddenly calmed you when nothing else could? Have you ever experienced that one brief quiet moment that changed what you did next? Tell me in the comments. I read them, and your experience might become the bridge for someone else who is suffering in silence. If you want more long-form stories like this, grounded in awakening, wisdom, karma, compassion, practice, and destiny. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video so it reaches people who need it. And if you want to support the channel and help me keep making these long videos that you can listen to like a steady companion, consider joining the membership and staying close with the community. Next, we will continue with another story that turns an ordinary everyday question into a mirror of respect, karma, and the quiet power of a single sincere thought.
There are moments when you see something and your heart simply whispers, "This one is meant for me." Bracelet carries more than beads. It carries intention, protection, and quiet strength. Something to guide your thoughts and keep your spirit steady. If you felt that gentle pull toward any of the bracelets shown, the purchase link is waiting in the description, and the full collection is displayed on our channel store. Follow your intuition. It rarely leads you wrong.